Hello everyone, welcome to this new video of me reacting to someone else's video. In this video I'll be reacting to one of the early uploads from the YouTube channel Game Theorists. I hope that you like their video as well because I'm a huge fan of their work. If you do like their video, just go over there and say hi for me. If you do like my video, please consider to like, share and subscribe to my channel. And comment down below if you have anything to share with us. Thank you so much, please subscribe. Anyways, having said that and done, let's look at the video. This video is like 2012, so I think it's around 9 years ago, I think. Yeah.
13 years ago, in November of 1999, a man named Satoshi Tajiri
Satoshi Tajiri. That name sounds familiar. Pokemon. Isn't it? That's like, what, 24 years ago? 13 years ago plus now it's like, what? 20 plus years ago.
Was interviewed by Time magazine. His brainchild, a couple humble video games for a dying 8-bit handheld, managed to spawn a worldwide phenomenon. What began as an idea he had 9 years ago had blossomed into a behemoth that had become its own card game, manga, television series, upcoming movie, and more. And, as unlikely as it sounds, their popularity was only rivaled by their own brilliance.
Can I just say that Ronnie's intro is very amazing?
Believe it or not, Pokemon Red, Green, and Blue were among some of the best designed games to come out of that era, and while their popularity was unprecedented, it was—
sorry, just a moment. I just noticed that this is reference about Gaijin, right? Sorry.
Believe it or not, Pokemon Red, Green, and—
Remember, now his name is Gaijin. Alright, Gaijin means 外人, foreigner. Yeah. Then someone that's not local. Yes. Anyways.
Blue were among some of the best designed games to come out of that era, and while their popularity was unprecedented, it wasn't a freak accident. The Pokemon games were not only unique, they were actually great RPGs that accomplished things that few other games before them even attempted. For example, not a lot of games let you choose from up to 151 potential characters to play as, and let you customize those characters' moveset to a certain extent. This opens up billions of possible team combinations and countless strategies one could employ, all on a handheld RPG. And this is a cool enough concept on its own, but with the link cables, you could pit your team against a friend's team. Up to that point, handhelds and RPGs often featured very isolating single-player experiences. So you can imagine how novel it was when a handheld RPG not only managed to break these boundaries down, but also made facing off with your friends a core part of the experience. And it didn't end at fighting each other. You could use the link cables to battle, but you could also use them to bargain. Trading was
Yes, battle and trading with your friends.
Another thing that made the games unique, and it wasn't just a tacked-on feature. Almost everything about the design of Pokemon inherently lent itself well to the idea of linking up and trading. From the hidden IVs and EVs, to the fact that the games were on handhelds, to the sheer amount of Pokemon scattered across all the games. It all helped advance the concept of trading in different ways. If you caught a Gumflepuff and your buddy caught a Gumflepuff, chances are their initial stats are going to be different, even if they were the exact same level when you caught them.
Yes, correct. Different stats.
And say their starting stats were the same, chances are the two Gumflepuffs would improve faster in different areas. This is—
Yes, that's the mechanics of Pokemon, and that's what makes them special.
Due to the way that the games were programmed, and it essentially makes every Pokemon you encounter unique in its own way. So even though you already have a Gumflepuff, you might want to get your hands on your buddy's Gumflepuff because it seems to deal more damage. The way the stats
It also evolved the Pokemon from Gumflepuff.
are handled by the game encourages trade. Moving forward, the fact that the original Pokemon games were released on handhelds pretty much meant you could take your team anywhere, like to a school or a park where you're likely to meet other people who also have the game. As opposed to just making idle conversation about the Pokemon you owned, you could trade and battle right there on the spot. The platform the games were released on encouraged trade. Also, the sheer amount of Pokemon packed into those original games encouraged trade. Even if you and your buddy both owned Red version, he might have managed to nab something like an Abra that you missed on your playthrough of the game.
Okay, so Abra always teleports away, so it's really difficult to catch it using proper methods. Yeah.
So once again, you're probably going to want to trade. So some of you have probably noticed that I've been skirting around a part of Pokemon that annoys people even to this day. It's the fact that the games are released in twos, with certain Pokemon being exclusive to certain color versions. A fair amount of people think that this version exclusivity is just a cheap move to try to sell more games, which very well might be the case with the newer Pokemon games.
I'm afraid I haven't played enough of the newer games to confidently comment about them. That's why this video is all about Generation 1.
But when it started in Generation 1, it was actually so much more honest and earnest than a dirty marketing move. It was a design decision, and a good one at that. Splitting the Pokemon across two games encourages trading, and trading was such a key aspect that made the original Pokemon game stand out from the other games at the time. As a kid on the playground, you had exclusive access to Pokemon your friend wanted, and your friend had exclusive access to Pokemon you wanted.
So that means you are special, your friend is special. That's what makes the game so unique.
It actually gave you even more incentive to trade, and it brought an honest element of camaraderie to the table. If everybody could catch every Pokemon on their own cartridge, then the incentive to trade would have been greatly diminished. And if I haven't hammered this point...
Also, splitting the Pokemon across two games was Miyamoto's idea, and in case you haven't noticed, he tends to have a habit of being out of being a genius.
Home enough, trading was just such a crucial concept that those original games were designed around. Now I know there's going to be a lot of you who are into the metagame and completely disagree with me.
There's also a lot of you that don't care, or don't know / don't care about the metagame. To you guys, I apologize for this disclaimer. Alright.
Me on that point, and perhaps a few other points, and I totally see where you're coming from. I just ask that you keep in mind that most people who bought Pokemon Red, Green, and Blue in the 90s weren't in it for the metagame. Moving on, another...
Sorry? Something like that, right?
Most people who bought Pokemon Red, Green, and Blue in the 90s weren't in it for the metagame.
In W.
Moving on, another unique thing that Pokemon did that most people seem to take for granted is that certain moves your Pokemon learned had practical applications inside as well as outside of battle. Years ago, when I played through my first Pokemon game, I was forced to catch Pokemon that I otherwise would have passed over because they could learn moves that were invaluable for my progression. The game pretty much pinned me down and told me to catch more Pokemon. Back then, it annoyed me, but I look back on it now and see that it was yet another defendable, if not good, design choice. Making these moves exclusive to certain Pokemon helped make these creatures stand out from one another a bit more. It differentiated their roles inside as well as outside of combat, and it showed the player that in this universe, Pokemon were good for more than just fighting. It also helped tie the overworld together with the battle screen, and made the world within the game more consistent in ways that games even to this day are still struggling with. Overall, it's just a really interesting dynamic which you didn't see in a lot of other RPGs. While it does force some players into catching and doing things they might not be interested in, I feel the amount of good it brings to the table more than makes up for that arguably small drawback. Before you guys flame me in the comments, I know that there were a lot of other RPGs before Pokemon that allowed you to use skills inside as well as outside of battle, but most of those were spells like Heal that didn't really serve as much of a unifying or universe-expanding design purpose like they did in Pokemon. Alright, so the excellence of Pokemon doesn't end at the games either. Nintendo and Game Freak did things outside of the video games that helped fuel the series' popularity. As an example, remember when Red, Green, and Blue first came out? It was still a time when video game companies could make money off of rumors. Well, in the 90s,
Make games out of rumors.
there are over 100 Pokemon that you knew about, but I recall going to school and hearing rumors that there were other secret Pokemon hidden or buried deep
Ghosts, missing, no. These rumors.
within the game. These rumors made you want to explore and play the games even more. It added an air of mystery and discovery that we have since lost with the ubiquity of the internet and GameFAQs.
More of silence.
It added an air of mystery and discovery that we have since lost with the ubiquity of the internet and GameFAQs.
I miss that. What is
It added an air of mystery and discovery that we have since lost with the ubiquity of the internet and GameFAQs.
More of silence, correct.
I guess we had Herobrine, but, you know. Now here's the awesome part I was getting to. Game Freak directly contributed to these rumors by hiding Mew in the games. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible to get Mew without participating in a special event or trading with somebody who already had Mew. This helped fuel the rumors about other hidden Pokemon released during special events, or glitches one could exploit to get these hidden Pokemon. All of this really helped to keep players searching and exploring, and it even brought a lot of new players in, especially in the East. According to some of Game Freak's staff,
They're just guys goodbye.
and this even coincides with the sales figures, Pokemon's success in Japan was greatly assisted by these promotional events like the one that ran in Kurokura Comic. Some of the original developers even go so far as to say that if number 151 was never added into the code for promotional purposes, Pokemon might have never made their way outside of Japan.
Oh.
And that's kind of a weird thought. But I digress. Alright, so this last point I'm going to make is probably the crowning jewel of genius that are embedded in the crowns that sit on Nintendo and Game Freak's hypothetical heads, and I'd hazard to say that it's one of the main reasons why the franchise grew as big as it did, and why it's still around today. Pokemon was arguably one of the most successful attempts at making a transmedia world. What I mean is almost any knowledge a kid learns about Pokemon while watching the anime can be directly applied one-to-one with situations that they encounter in the game. You would actually learn more about the video game by watching the show. Then, a strategy you developed in the video game might have applications in the card game. Then, something you saw in the card might pop up in the show. It might just sound like I'm giving the creators too much credit, and as with a lot of things I mentioned, all of this can just be chalked up to a really slick marketing move, and to some extent it is. However, children did get some benefit out of it. It enriched their experience and expanded their knowledge of this really cool universe they genuinely enjoyed learning about and interfacing with. I was one of those kids. I remember sitting at a lunch table with a few classmates during school, and we were all talking about Pokemon. Everybody there had seen the anime except for one kid who only owned one of the video games. Yet we were all able to have a conversation about Pokemon because the universe was just so consistent across all the different mediums.
So if I only watch the anime, I will only read the manga, I only play the game. We can all talk about same thing, same topic, even though we personally may not have experienced their point of view, right? The episode friends may not play the game. The episode friends may not read the manga. The manga friends may not watch the anime. The manga friends may not play the game, and the gaming friends may not watch the anime, may not read the manga, but they can all link together at the same topic.
Few franchises have ever really accomplished something like that. Previous shows, like Transformers, also established transmedia worlds, and they were pretty successful, but I think it's safe to say that Pokemon's transmedia foray was a great deal more tightly integrated, and it brought a lot more to the table than almost anything that came before it, and a lot of things that have come since. Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green, and the entire franchise as a whole during the 90s and early 2000s, weren't just unique. They were rife with good design decisions. The original two games were also genuine labors of love for the developers. During the project's outset, Tajiri pitched the idea of the original Pokemon games to Nintendo more than once, and they turned him down each time. It was only with the help of some guy named Miyamoto that Nintendo
Miyamoto? Those idiot Japanese people that rejected him. It's only the genius Miyamoto who said yes.
finally agreed to help fund the project. Then, over the course of the development, Game Freak nearly went bankrupt, and Tajiri had to stop taking a salary so he could afford to pay the other workers. If you go back and read an interview with Tajiri, Sugimori, or anybody else who was involved with the project, you get a sense that they really believed in what they were working on. And if you play Red, Blue, or Green, you can almost feel the amount of heart that those guys put into it. Those first-generation titles seem so open and earnest in ways that you don't really see enough of today. Not only were the games well designed from top to bottom, but the entire franchise as a whole actively worked all of its parts in tandem, and they played off of each other really well. The ideas the series embodies are not only great, but the execution of those ideas was spot on almost every step of the way. And I could really go on for a while about this, so I'm just going to close it out with a quote of Tajiri from the Times Magazine interview I mentioned earlier. "Everything I did as a kid kind of rolled into one. That's what Pokemon is. Playing video games, watching TV, Ultraman with his capsule monsters, they all became ingredients for the game. The idea for Pokemon clicked in my mind. The basic idea for Pokemon seemed a good fit for Game Boy."
Yeah, that's true. 31.37 million copies worldwide. Those people, those Japanese salesmen that rejected his ideas. Too bad. And combined, they are the 4th best-selling video game in history and the best-selling of all time. That's a lot of records.
You know what, Tajiri? I think you might have been onto something.
Oh, my apologies.
Everybody there had... hit my elbow.
Oh, cheat my elbow.
Everybody there had... Did I scrape my elbow? Wow.
Oh gosh. But it was fun. I love the Pokemon games. Do you love the Pokemon games? No, seriously, do you love the Pokemon games?